talking about the psych of superheroes, the psychology of superheroes. So on Wednesday, we had a really in-depth discussion about the positive psychology of superheroes, which is the superheroes for me is like number one. I think it's my nerd cred 100%. So JLA, Justice League of America, although I don't know if anybody would really want to protect America right now who is a superhero. They'd probably just leave and be like, yeah, all right, see you later. I'm going to increase the size of this. Need to be on the right window. Oh, look at them. I've seen this artwork before, and I love it because it's pretty damn cool. So Justice League, DC, obviously DC. So what I'm gonna do in this particular, I guess we'll call it episode, is I'm gonna compare the Justice League, these fine folks, to the Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and the X-Men, who are all Marvel properties, Marvel groups. So this is going to be the JLA versus all them cool cats and kittens, right? Because I am a Marvel fan above it all. So, and this is for a whoa, what is going on here? I don't know. This is for me just like trying to get feelers out for prepping a course that I kind of want to do over the summer, like a first pilot. So this is kind of like piloting the pilot, talking about different stuff from a book of superheroes and, you know, playing around with it, kind of getting input from you all, and then, you know, moving on from the and obviously creating a course around it. It's very few people do this, by the way. Very, if anything, they kind of just sprinkle it in their existing classes, and I kind of do, but not really. I don't. Kinda don't. So for this idea, I just want to kind of put it out there. So this is kind of like lecture 2, in a sense. So let's start with the Justice League, and we'll compare group behavior amongst the Justice League to the other Marvel groups that I mentioned a few minutes ago. So here we have the Justice League. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, OG Aquaman, okay, The Flash, and I believe this is Barry Allen. We have Hal, excuse me, I believe Hal Jordan, Green Lantern. Then we have over here John Jones, the Martian Manhunter. And there are quite a bunch of other people in here, but those, I believe, are the original members. Somebody could correct me in chat if that's the case. But then here we have Hawkman. We have Hawkwoman. They have Egyptian names, and I can't remember what those Egyptian names are. I believe, is this... what's the magician's name? I can't remember the magician's name. I don't remember anybody else on here except for maybe Adam and Captain Marvel / Shazam. So that's your Justice League. They were formed in 1960. In 1960, which is now Detective Comics, as basically an amalgamation of all of the characters that existed in the universe before. Oh, I forgot Green Arrow right there. He was kind of hiding. They kind of existed there already, and in order to increase sales for the other single character titles like Superman and Batman, Wonder Woman, etc., was to combine them, because if you combine them, then people will want to go, okay, well, what are they doing on their own? Not together, but on their own. And I'm not sure how it did in increasing sales, but that was the strategy behind. That was the marketing and artistic strategy behind it. And so they created this group, and this group, the Justice League, supplanted the Justice Society, which had a bunch of other older, more random, less well-known heroes. I couldn't tell you. I believe Hawkman and Hawkgirl were in the JSA, but I don't know who else. I know Smallville went into quite a bit of detail of the Justice Society, and they sort of overlook that for the Zack Snyder DCEU, the current crop of films. So the interesting thing here is that the JLA supplanted the JSA, and essentially they essentially stopped writing stories for the JSA. Because these heroes were quite a bit more popular, especially Superman and Batman, in their own comics. And, as the decades wore on, Superman got his own movies, and then ultimately Batman had a TV show in the 1960s, and then got his own movies. And then here we are in the 21st century, and pretty much everyone major on here has either gotten a TV show or a movie, or will be getting a TV show or a movie, right? So all of these characters, and then that's not to mention the cartoon Justice League, and then Justice League Unlimited, and all of that stuff. So the group dynamics of this particular group is actually quite fascinating when you compare it to the, I would say, more grounded versions, but there are some interesting real world differences that I can point out here. So here's the Justice League, right? And here are some of the Avengers. This is the more modern incarnation of the Avengers with Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. Okay, obviously not the this is the OG group from 2012's MCU film franchise. So there are a lot of differences there, but here we have the Fantastic Four, group of four, and mostly back and forth kind of thing. So we have these four, and then we have the gigantic set of X-Men. So we have, not only do we have the X-Men, but we also have the Brotherhood of Mutants, which is led by Magneto. And the artistic influence of this particular image is from the TV show, except for Wolverine, which has always been strange to me. But this is the TV show and the comic books at the time, and what they wore in that. And I've always, just as a quick side note, I've always felt that Cyclops' uniform was very strange and maybe a little over the top as far as like accoutrement. Like, what is this? What is this pack around his, like it actually does literally nothing. And then what do you have in your utility belt, bro? What do you have in that belt of yours? Like, nobody else has a utility belt. What do you have in there? You shoot laser beams out of your eyeballs. Or, eyeballs, but then it comes out through a single thing. I wonder, did he have a nickname before or after they gave him the single visor? Was he like, I need a cool superhero name. I need a code name. And they're like, laser eyes. And he's like, no, they're not lasers, though. It's essentially sun energy. And he puts on the goggles, and it's just the thin bar, right? And like, oh, yeah, no, you look like a Cyclops. Okay, cool. Yeah, that'll be my code name, Cyclops. What? It's like everything about Cyclops is bothersome to me. But anyways, so a couple of aspects of group dynamics that I want to talk about with the JLA and the others is social loafing, group effort, and the sharing of information, optimal distinctiveness, and optimal leadership model. And so a lot of these ideas came from my good friend, Goodfriend, colleague, social psychologist in the next state over. We have collaborated quite a bit on my podcast, my film and psychology podcast. So a lot of this stuff comes from her, and it's pretty awesome. I like it. I like it a lot. So, social loafing. Now, social loafing is an interesting concept, and you don't see it that much in optimal groups. When groups are working the way they should, you don't see social loafing. But when groups are not working the way they should, you'll most definitely see it. So a good example of this is when you're doing a group project for school, and then you have that one member who's like, yeah, no, I'll do whatever you want, it's fine. And then they don't because they just don't look, they just don't seem like they're gonna to do that. The other reason is the diffusion of responsibility, which affects groups in general when you have the bystander effect. It's one explanation for the bystander effect is this diffusion of responsibility. So the really interesting thing, especially early JLA comic books and stories, is that there is very little or no social loafing. Okay. There's very little or no social loafing. So nobody in the group is like, nah, I don't, I'll just let you take care of it. I'm just going to put my feet up here. No, they all contribute some sort of aspect to the group and the goals of the group, which is, to fight gigantic and really incredibly powerful aliens and sorcerers and just really powerful beings, I guess, interdimensional beings and such. So they're all able to do that, and with very, very little, I guess, complaining. Very little complaining associated with their group work. Now, I didn't really watch the Justice League cartoon or the Justice League Unlimited cartoon, so I can't really speak to the amount of conflict that they potentially have in those incarnations. But at least the early comic incarnations, very little strife and conflict in getting stuff done. Now we can compare that social loafing aspect to the Avengers. There isn't very much social loafing amongst the Avengers, I will say. They tend to do the things that they're good at, and there are quite a few things that, maybe Tony Stank is good at. I have a package for Tony Stank. So I don't know if I don't really know if there's social loafing here. There's very little strife, I suppose. Although when they first got together, especially in the Avengers movie, there was some fighting in between. It was some infighting at the beginning, and Phil Coulson had to get stabbed. The origins of the Avengers were a lot more amicable than in the MCU incarnation. So I wouldn't catch any social loafing in here either. I would not make any estimates of that here. Lots of social loafing going on in the Fantastic Four, and it's mostly from Johnny. Mostly from Johnny, because he's sort of supposed to be like a goofy, goof off kind of guy, and so if you're gonna be a goof off kind of guy, then obviously there's gonna be some social loafing. You're gonna say, okay, Reed's smart. Reed's one of the smartest guys in the universe, so yeah, let's have him do all the work. Ben's strong. Ben Grimm is strong, so like he can do all the lifting and whatnot. And then Sue is also kind of smart, but like she just helps Reed all the time. So there's really nothing left for me to do except go have fun, and that's what he does. He goes and has fun, and they play this up quite a bit in all of the movies because his characterization has been fairly straightforward in most of the incarnations. So in the comic book, he's a goof off. In the comics, he's a goof off. In the Fantastic Four TV show in the 90s, he was a goof off. I believe there was a cartoon prior to that, but I haven't seen it, so I couldn't tell you. In the first two Fantastic Four films, when he was played by Chris Evans, when he was played by Captain America in disguise, he was a goof off specifically, and sort of like trying to be a playboy kind of guy. And then in the follow up film, he's kind of the same. And then in Fant Four Stick, the moody, really poorly written and directed with Fox having studio notes and stuff. Fantastic Four, Fant Four Stick, because of where they put the four. Michael B. Jordan plays Johnny, and he is still a goof off, and like he's a smart kid, but all he wants to do is appease his dad so he could get his car back. And I mean, come on, man. No, man. No, I don't like it. So, and then, forgot I had one more group team. Okay, so we have some social loafing going on in the Fantastic Four. The X-Men and even the Brotherhood. There's a lot of social loafing going on in most incarnations. In the first episode of the cartoon, the X-Men cartoon in the 90s, instead of training, Morph is just watching TV, morphing into shapeshifting into people he sees on the internet. Bro, what are you doing, man? You need to be training. No wonder he died that first episode. More! As Wolverine yelled out for him. Yeah, so, I mean, come on. And in most of the incarnations of Wolverine, he's a loner. And so it's not so much a diffusion of responsibility so much as a desire to not participate in a group, I suppose. I suppose that's the case on that one. So, yeah. And then on the Brotherhood side, I don't. On the Brotherhood side, but Magneto does most of the work, I suppose. Magneto and Toad, I suppose, do the vast majority of the work in that realm. And what else? Yeah, I suppose I could spend hours on the X-Men and whether or not they're social loafers. But let's go back to the Justice League and the second concept that I wanna discuss as far as group dynamics go. Group effort. Hey everybody, good job. Group effort. Like, excellent. Yes. Yeah, give it up. Yeah, group effort. Everyone did great. Everyone did great. So group effort. In many of the comics, Justice League members, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, they all work together. And they work together very, very well. So in the essay that Goodfriend wrote, she speaks particularly about a couple of stories. But there was one story that stuck with me, which was for this particular idea regarding group effort. The Justice League was dealing with some aliens who needed to fill a power vacuum. Whatever, man. And so instead of, this is really good comic book writing though, but so rather than fight on their own planet, because they didn't want to ruin it, because they wanted to be able to rule it, so they needed to choose a ruler, and so they were going to do this, like, I don't know, Wakandan fight to the death sort of ritual combat. And so they decided that they were going to fight on Earth. And they didn't really get away with it. So the JLA went and cleaned them up. But there was this one dude who could encase them all in tree bark. He was some sort of tree alien. I don't know. But to get out of it, they had to work together. So, oh wait, no, I'm sorry. I'm conflating two. I'm conflating two. Sorry. So actually, the one that I want to talk about is there being nothing to do with these aliens fighting on Earth for no reason, but they were being zapped of their powers by some sort of spiral energy. And I don't know, Green Arrow, not having powers himself, had some sort of arrow that can catch the lasso of truth. Wonder Woman's lasso. And so he, with his waning strength, he shoots his arrow, but it doesn't look like it's going to have enough momentum to get to the lasso. So what does Flash do? He starts vibrating with his waning strength, his hand in a loop so he could get air moving to send a vortex of air to push the arrow toward the lasso, and then it gets the lasso and it brings it back, and on its way back, Wonder Woman is able to get it and then wrap up the person that's putting them in these wrap the baddie, the villain that is making them in, or putting them in these spirals, these energy sapping spirals. So he does that, and she does that, and great job, everyone. Great job. Yeah. 100% group effort. If they had not coordinated like that, at all, then they probably all would have died. Now, in comic book lore, that's not something that would actually happen, but it's possible. It really is possible. So, I guess we'll see. But that group effort is pretty damn good. Now, do I have some comparisons here for group effort? I think these in Endgame alone, the amount of cooperation that they had to do, and then the multiple fight stuff in like Civil War at the end where Iron Man is fighting Cap and Bucky. But here's the thing. So in Endgame alone, a lot of maximum group effort. But here's the thing. In Civil War, they're fighting each other. That's not group effort. No. So if we were to take the Avengers as a whole in all of their incarnations, Civil War in the comics, and then translated to the MCU, no group effort. Nope. I think the Fantastic Four works well together. Their powers are extremely different in that they tend to, at least in all of the stuff that I've seen, they have to work together. So even in Fant Four Stick, they are working together, right? And then the X-Men, lots of people are loners. At least of the actual X-Men, they try to work together. But it's not a lot. They don't work together a lot. A related idea to this group effort is the sharing of information. So, Batman shares information for everybody. Right? So, not only does he have billions of dollars, but he has satellites and sensors and trackers and all that stuff. Aquaman can talk to fish and find out what's going on in the ocean. Superman can fly everywhere. John Jones can read people's minds. Like, they have a wealth of information all over the place, and they share it with each other. That's one of the crucial ideas. They share it with each other. That cannot be said on the Avengers here. They don't share information at all. In fact, they were openly contentious with each other. Cap knew about Bucky. And Tony's parents kept it from him. Hulk keeps things from Bruce Banner and vice versa, right? Bruce had no idea he was on Sakaar for a bunch of years. So there's that too. And then Black Widow. She keeps a ton of stuff to herself. Like, she's not sharing any information. Fantastic Four, I think they work fine together. It's just nothing too crazy. And then the X-Men are extremely dysfunctional. They don't work together. They don't share information. Charles Xavier, Professor X, shares information when he wants to. He doesn't share information at all. Yeah. So, and then the Brotherhood of Mutants on the other side, Magneto on the other side there. What information? What information? He doesn't have any, that's for sure. That is for sure. So I have two more arguments to make, sort of echo what Wind, Goodfriend, was mentioning in her article. So optimal distinctiveness. Look at all those cool cats and kittens. So why would hey Uncle Bill, what's up? So why would a group of potentially super powerful people want to hang out in a group together? Well, for two reasons. Affiliation and belonging. They're like abilitied. They're like abled. They are at least the DC calls them metahumans. And so they're all metahumans or aliens in the case of like John Jones and Superman, among others, I imagine. I suppose. I don't really know. All right, so the 49ers beat the Giants. Excellent. Well done. I love it. So they join this group for belonging. The women especially join this group to belong on equal foot, and they're on equal footing with men, with the men in the group. So they like to hang out. They like to hang out. And they're different enough from each other that they all support each other in some way. So they all have a set of skills that they bring to the literal oval table of the Hall of Justice. Literal oval table. They all bring a set of skills that they're all going to use, right? So not only are they getting affiliation and belonging needs met, they are different enough that they are going to be, what's the word I want? They're going to be appreciated for the set of skills that come with the territory, right? So, and that goes back to the whole group effort thing. If they feel like they are optimally different enough, but not too different, that they will gladly work together, as opposed to, no, I'm doing it. It's my way or the highway over here. This group of people is so bad. Now they get the affiliation and belonging, but they don't get that optimal distinctiveness. They are too different from one another. They're all dealing with their own stuff. And it's actually fairly critical here in the dysfunction of the group, because they don't function well as a team. And you see that time and time again. Maybe not the first incarnation of the X-Men First Class, not the movie, but the first incarnation in the Uncanny X-Men, where Beast didn't look like a blue furball. They tended to work together too, because it was mostly just that group fighting the Brotherhood of Mutants, and because the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s brought the allegory of differentness to the fore, the dysfunction started to come in because everybody was so different from one another, even though they were all mutants and, going to Xavier's school for the gifted, or Xavier's school for the for gifted youngsters, I think is what it is. Even though you're getting some affiliation and belonging at the school, you have this other guy Magneto, Eric Lensher, who's like, no, we need to burn this all to the ground because regular humans are a-holes, and we need to become the dominant race because mutants. And so there you have mutants trying to fight mutants, and it's like, whose message is more powerful at that point? So they are far too different at that point. Modern incarnations of the Avengers have these issues as well. Especially when you throw ego in, not Ego the Living Planet, but just like a person's ego. Tony Stark has the most giant ego ever. And you had all of these competing egos, and so too much difference. So the JLA really used the optimal distinctiveness idea far more than any of these other superhero groups, which I think is cool. Like, it really touched on it generally, and I think that's pretty cool. The other thing that I wanted to, I think I'll close out with this, is how these groups are led. So Kurt Lewin, considered by many to be the quote-unquote father of social psychology, did an experiment where he gave 3 different groups of boys leadership models. So like, he gave one group of boys an autocratic model to follow, which is to say somebody would need to rise up and be the leader in the group. Democratic. So the boys would have to figure out how to manage that in a democratic way, how leadership is done in a democratic way. So not only is there a central executive power, but then, a voting body or whatever. Like, consider it a like city council allegory, I think is the best way to talk about the directions that this group was given. And then there was a third group, which we'll call the laissez-faire group, because the experiment didn't explicitly give them instructions for how to lead each other. So they had to figure it out on their own. And no directions, non-directive, laissez-faire, just kind of do it in your own way, which I think is kind of funny. And so for each of these groups of boys, they had to do different tasks and solve different problems. They all solved the same kinds of problems, and they were measured on how well they solved the problems, how well they worked together, all sorts of variables. And what ended up coming out of this experiment was that, of course, the group of boys who were doing the democratic leadership model worked best together, and also were able to solve the vast majority of the problems. The autocratic model, the autocratic leadership model, they did not do so well. They did the worst out of all 3 on working together, as well as getting problems solved. So if that tells you anything about leadership models in real life, it's actually kind of important. And so how does this apply to superheroes? Well, as superhero groups, well, the Justice League, in the Hall of Justice, is a round table with a bunch of chairs around it. And it's round, right? So that means, this is purposeful, there is no head of the table, There is no middle part of the table. It is literally just a round circle. It is literally a circle with a bunch of chairs around it where everyone feels like they have the same standing in the group. And so the JLA is run democratically. Now, there are some power players, we'll call them, in the group. There are some power players. So Batman is a power player because he has lots and lots and lots and lots of money, right? And he's the world's greatest detective and whatnot. Superman is just I would say a natural leader because of his virtuous background. I don't want to give too much credit to small town living, but he's a modest guy. I'll say that he's modest. And then here, there, and everywhere, everyone else has sort of attributes for leading and attributes for following. Like, they're all pretty agreeable people. They get stuff done, and that's what makes the circular table in the Hall of Justice so damn important. So damn important, right? It's critical for their success to behave in a democratic way. Now, the Avengers, on the other hand, and this could be argued. And I'm willing to go with the flow on this one, because I don't know if I have any strong ideas either way. So Cap seems to be the leader of the group, except when he's not. He's the leader of the Avengers in Civil War. Because we don't really know what Tony's giving money to MIT graduate students. Like, he's just doing random stuff here and there. Hulk is on Sakaar, so whatever. But anyways, like, he seems to be the leader. And then later in Civil War, you end up with the situation where Tony/Iron Man is leading one side and Cap is leading the other side. And so you have this fracture down the middle there, and they seem to be behaving in more autocratic ways. Not full-on autocratic where it's my way or the highway. That's handled by either Nick Fury or Secretary Ross, at least in that film. Because Nick Fury isn't actually a dude you see frequently in the original Avengers comics. This is sort of an after the fact sort of modern incarnation of who technically leads the Avengers. So Nick Fury being that character in the MCU. So anyways, and then who the hell is Thor gonna listen to? He's technically the king of Asgard. Like, is he gonna listen to Cap and be like, oh yeah, no, Cap's cool. I'm gonna listen to this guy because he's awesome or something like that. The Fantastic Four is led by Reed Richards 100%. He's not a very authoritarian autocratic leader, but it is definitely an autocracy there at the Fantastic Four at the Baxter Building. It's definitely an autocracy. And there are clashes among the three of them. Of the lower ones. They would probably argue that they are a democracy, but honestly, if you look at all of the incarnations, Ben is always following Reed's commands / directives. Sue does too. I know Johnny does his own thing, but like, I mean, he's pretty much the only one who can like literally fly. And so like he still follows Reed's directives because Reed's still boss man, right? Tony has a tendency to become a wild card, almost Tony has a tendency to become a wild card almost any time the deck is dealt. You're never really sure what he might also be doing under the table. Oh yeah, yes, 100%, Bill, 100%. And it's interesting too when you compare it to the optimal leadership model idea that I'm talking about here. Is that he could potentially, with those under the table stuff, undercut the authority of whoever is the autocratic, or even if you want to argue that the Avengers is democratic, like who's funding it all? Well, it's Tony's funding it all. So yeah, you get a situation where if Tony is not the de facto leader or the de jure leader, that he will mess things up at some point. Maybe. Like when he got red on his eyes and all he could see. Let me try that again. When all he could see was red when he found out that Bucky was the one who killed his parents. Spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen Civil War. Captain America is pretty much always exactly what he claims to be. I would agree. Yeah, he seems like a guy who's trying to do his best and apply his moral psychology in every situation he can. And I think people gravitate to that charisma and allow him to be the leader of the group in lots of circumstances. So yeah, I would agree with you there, Bill. And finally, we have two autocratic leaders here. Two 100% autocratic leaders in the X-Men. Well, in the X-Men franchise. So we have Charles Xavier, Professor X. It's his school. He's, a very old and very powerful mutant. Old in the sense that he's been around for a while. As far as like mutants have existed, he's one of the older existing mutants in the world. And so he even though he's a kind person, he withholds information. He withholds information, which undercuts the group effort, and tells them all what to do. He tells them all what to do. And you see this from the very first incarnation in the 1960s, in 1963, with the Uncanny X-Men, all the way through the most recent film of Dark Phoenix, which is god-awful. God-awful. But I mean, the through thread from 1963 to 2019, or yeah, I guess it did come out in 2019. The through thread is that Charles, with his telepathic ability, is an autocratic leader, and he does things that suit him regardless of who may be reaping the benefits, but also receiving the harm, I think is the way that I want to characterize that. And then I just icing on the cake here. By far the most apparent example is Magneto. Eric Lenscher, as an autocratic leader, he calls it the Brotherhood of Mutants. But in no way does he actually act like it's a brotherhood. In no way. 100% in no way does he act like it's a brotherhood. That's my take. And that is maybe less apparent in the Michael Fassbender incarnation of Eric Lenscher Magneto. He's definitely a little more open and first class to being part of it, but he understands that, he needs to take things on his own. He needs to be that guy And it's supposed to be the morphing of the idea, the evolution of the idea that puts him into Ian McKellen's situation, where he's just like, these fools are not worth protecting, are not worth saving, so we shouldn't, and we should become the dominant species on the planet, because mutants are better. And, you know, they may be better, they may not be better, but it's clear to me that even though the Justice League is not my favorite group, it has some interesting people. But it's not my favorite group. And I wonder if the fact that they're such a good working group, like they work so well together, that they have very minimal conflict, and it's sometimes boring to watch because there's no inner conflict breaking up this group effort. I don't know. I'm kind of torn on that one. I'm torn. I really am. I don't really know. But those are my thoughts on group dynamics. Now, if you are interested in learning more about learning more about groups, let's go to YouTube here, my YouTube, and I will show you on my channel. Go to my channel. Here's my channel. I've been updating some stuff. Eventually get my face out of there. But you'll find my created playlists. This playlist. So this was a summer class that I did on social psychology. And so these are all of my asynchronous lectures. So it's just me in front of a green screen and some slides with videos and things. And lecture 8 here, groups. So we look over here.
Genes want to do none of this stuff that we've added, that humans have added to life. Our genes just want to procreate, and they saw giving.
Look at that handsome fellow.
An inanimate object. Some animacy here, but they saw that.
Look at that handsome fellow.
The goal, and so we did it.
Yeah,
can't do it solo.
All right.
So this has been traced back to science. Yep, that's how you say the name up there. It's not Zajonk, it's Science.
Yeah, buddy.
His first name's Bob, which is great. So this is Science's model of social facilitation. He came quite a ways.
So here's
broader
social loafing.
Dynamics, okay. And then the fourth reason is that more value is assigned. And,
social loafing, okay. Ingham,
to make as much noise as possible,
although there
right?
should be an accent over that L.
Bigger the group size.
And then group dynamics over here, how to make group work. Justice League hits all of these buttons, man. They hit all of these buttons.
And
so here's my little logo here. Make sure to like and subscribe over here.
In trouble.
All right, that's enough out of you. So, Justice League does not suffer from any de-individuation issues. Getting lost in the crowd. Nobody feels like they're getting lost in the crowd over here. So, yeah. Anyways, you can grab that. You can watch that. I'm going to close that. Go back to these. Yes, and then I have my live streams from that class. So they watched an asynchronous lecture, and then they also came to Twitch to hang out, and we did some stuff. So this is 2 hours here. of just hanging out. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Everyone, good morning. In the news this morning.
So here we are talking about groups, cave rescue mission,
Which holds frequent protests.
Yeah, I really like this live stream. It was fun.
Instagram. Yeah, we'll do that. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. How many of you are, or let me know.
So,
you,
yeah.
Is your account private?
And there, the chat, I think, appears over here or something like that. But anyways, it hasn't gotten very many views.
My account on Facebook is private. My Instagram is also private. But my Twitter is public.
Yeah, my Twitter is public. So I have a lot of... I have 2 videos. One in more of a lecture format, and then more of just like a posted live stream for posterity. On group dynamics and doing stuff in groups. And so I think that applies really well here. Applies really